Hello from Mexico City and welcome to Crossing Borders with Nathan Lustig, where I have conversations with entrepreneurs doing business across borders and the people who support them, with a focus on those with some connection to Latin America. This episode is brought to you by latamlist.com. If you like this podcast, you'll enjoy Latamlist's daily tech news. If you like the podcast and want to go deeper, check out Crossing Borders, a venture capitalist guide to doing business in Latin America. I took my experience living and working LATAM for the past 8 years and paired it with excerpts from Crossing Borders conversations with more than 30 entrepreneurs. You can buy it on Amazon today. My guest today is Marta Forero, the Colombian co-founder and COO of UBits, a corporate online learning platform that's like Netflix for business content. We cover how Marta and her team bootstrapped the business for 4 years before getting into Combinator, where she was the only Latin American woman in her cohort, and then raised $2 million from U.S. investors by the end of demo day. After graduating from university and starting to work at a traditional business, making good money, Marta's conversations with her dad pushed her to go out on her own and start a business so she would avoid getting golden handcuffs. She knew she wanted to make an impact and started an online university, where she took what she learned and pivoted into starting UBits. We talk about how a chance meeting in a bookstore turned into how she met her co-founder Julián, advice for Latin American founders on getting a business off the ground, and her decision to try to go big with the business rather than to continue bootstrapping. We also talk about her decision to apply to YC, her advice on how to best prepare for the program, the application phase, the interview, and then how to get the most out of the program once you're in it. We also cover what it's like to be a woman entrepreneur and her advice to other women in Latin America on how to be a successful founder. I know 2019 is still young, but this podcast will be in contention for the best one of the year. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Marta as much as I did. Hey Marta, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being willing to do it.
Hi, Nathan.
So where are you in the world today?
Right now, I'm in Bogota. I'm in our headquarters from UBits.
And what does UBits do?
Okay, so UBits is an e-learning company focused on corporate training based on BITS. A BIT is a small training unit created by industry experts in which they help solve day-to-day problems in a job. So if you see UBits, we are the University of BITS. That's why we are called.
And what kind of courses are people taking on the platform?
Right now, we do courses in business, for example, finances, skills training, soft skills, hard skills, software skills, and that's like the 4 basics on the categories we have.
And tell me a little bit about the company today. Where is it in terms of geographies, in terms of employees, in terms of people using it?
Okay, so we have been collaborating and work with over 100 companies in Latin America. We're growing a lot in Mexico and in Peru. We have right now 80 employees, all based in mostly in, like we have 70 employees in Colombia, and we are based in Bogota, in Medellin. Then in Peru, we have 2 business developers right there. And in Mexico, the team is growing really fast. Right now, we have 10 employees, so that's it.
And was this a business that you always knew you wanted to start, or how did you decide to start this one rather than any other business that you could have done?
Okay, personally, I used to train people in my back jobs. So I used to work at Red Bull, and I used to train people in another places like Juan Valdez here in Colombia, or Alpina, or Unilever. So I always believe that technology was like the best way to train people, because sometimes I had to go to Colombia, like Bogota, Medellin, Cali, Bucaramanga, and people has like a turnaround really high, like 30% of the company was not in the company anymore. So that was a thing. I believe like that was a problem we had. Also, the lack of education in Colombia and in our countries was really high. So I started my first company was a university. It is really fun. But when I was like 25 years, I tried to open a university, an online university here in Colombia, because I believe that bringing high quality like to people will create like a big impact in the economic growth of our countries. That's like a big insight. When I was trying to make the university, I met Julian, and we had like the same passion for education. But I had always believed that I wanted to be a company girl since I was a little girl. I first was an employee for many years, but then I really realized that this was a huge step that I needed to make.
And what was that inflection point where you knew, you know what, I don't want to work in a big company anymore. I want to go do this on my own?
This was when I was working at Red Bull, and my dad called me, and he told me, "Okay, Marta, right now you are like gaining a lot of money for being at your age. Like 6 months later, you are going to have a big salary, and then it's going to be really tough for you to like stop working in this company because then you are going to like at your 24 years you are going to have like a 3,000 salary, and then it's going to be a really bad decision because then you are not going to quit. So right now it's a great moment to quit because then you can, if the company is not working, then you can go and work again as an employee. And we started talking about that, and he always told me, you are going to be a mom, you have to have a company, you have to have your time, and it has been always your dream. So at that point I decided to quit at Red Bull. That was like a decision from one day to another, and because I also talk to me and say, okay, Marta, right now you are just not sleeping to another like working to another person, then you're working a lot and you can work at your own company a lot. And third, like, it's a risk, you have to take risk. So I'm always being like this, and I decided to quit and start the university. I had this idea, so that's it. That's the like that was the day in which I decided to quit. I quit and I start like, I don't know how right now I laugh, but I thought I was going to like get some money because I needed like $3 million, $2 to $3 million to get this university. I used to like, I worked for this dream like for 2 years, and then I started UBits.
That's an amazing story. I think an amazing dad, because I think almost everybody else on the podcast so far, when they decided to leave their business, was the opposite. Their family was saying, "You're crazy. You have an amazing job. Why would you give it up?" So that's amazing that he was willing to push you to go follow your dream.
No, and it was crazy because sometimes when you start having your own company, you have many time free. When you start like, and you used to be an employee, you are, for me, I have like a lot of energy. So when I start, I went to my office, to my startup office, I don't know, and I was working since 8 to 10, and at 10 a.m. I had a lot of time. So one day I called my dad, and he told me like, Marta, and I told him that I'm really like, I don't know, I'm really bored. I don't have anything to do. I start like working all day at all hour, and I have like a lot of free time. And he told me like, enjoy this free time because when the company is going to start, you are not going to have any time to do anything. So you have to enjoy your free time because then I'm going to call you and you're not going to answer me because you're going to be busy. So I was like, okay, okay, okay. And at that time, I was doing my MBA because I realized that I need all of the bases, all of the financial basics and account basics and many basics. And there were some materias, I don't know, there were some.
Yeah,
Yes,
that works.
there's some in which there was leadership, teamwork, ethics, and I was like, oh my god, this is so boring. And as I was talking to my dad, and I told him like, oh my god, the MBA is so boring. I don't know if I'm going to apply anything of this. And he told me the best MBA you are going to make is create your own company. Then you are going to know that everything you saw in the university, it's going to work for you, but then you are going to take your own thesis of everything, of leadership, how to manage your team, how to work in your I don't know, in your financials, how to make everything inside the company. And right now it's like this, like you start making your own coffee, your own financials, your own everything.
We're gonna have to get your dad on the podcast later to give advice to other entrepreneurs who are too
Yeah.
scared to take the jump.
Yes, I know.
So when you started the university, what was your first step?
When I started, I first wanted to have like an idea, a big idea for the university. This university I wanted to found here in Colombia. It was already in Mexico. It is a really, really small university, online university. And I talked to the director of that university and I told him, okay, I want to bring this idea because I believe in what you are doing. And we start talking about it. Then I went to Mexico alone and I started negotiating with this director. He was like 50 years old. And, and I started negotiating like all of the percentages and all of the commissions and things like that. Then I went to the minister of the education minister here in Colombia, and I started talking with everyone in which to know how much money I needed, how much time I needed, and then I realized it was going to be really tough. So I went talking to the BID, El Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo, and they didn't help me because I needed like a lot of money and I was alone. But I believe I was going to have the university in any time. I believe I was small, or I was like, I was not going to get it. But then I got another path in which I met Julian, and I stopped working to the university because it was going to be like a big path. Here in Colombia, the universities are non-profit. You have like to get a big office with teachers, and you have to have like all the university in the place, and maybe you don't have the permissions to have it, so you have to wait until the permissions, but you have to hire all the people, and it was crazy. I also hired like lawyers and everything, but then I quit the university because I knew I needed to do it. But really it was like a big pivot to the University of Bits to UBits, so it's not as different as right now.
And how did you meet your co-founder, and what was that process like of choosing a co-founder and deciding, you know what, I want to work with this person for the next 7 to 10 years?
So this was funny because I didn't choose him. Like eh, we didn't have any friends in common. Our story is quite funny. We known each other since 2013, and it was funny because we were buying the same book in a bookstore in Bogota. It was the game storming book. It's not as good as a good book, but finding paper books in English is complex in our country. So we were in the learner library, and we met each other, and we start talking like, why are you going to use this book? And I told him that I wanted to make, in the university, I wanted to make a diplomado of creativity and innovation. And then he told me that he was working in the Universidad de los Andes in innovation. He was giving some lectures. So it was funny because it was pure chance. Like I never contact him, or he never contact me like for 2 months, until he contact me to LinkedIn with the idea of seeing us. So we met again in a cafe. It was like the most long cafe of my life, and we start just working together for since then. We realized we have like the same passion first. Second, we already had some companies. Julian had like two companies before, small like startups. And I had like this startup and many small like startups I founded in the university. But we start as a friendship. Then we start to work in several projects until we found UBits. But for right now, I believe it was just luck because we didn't knew each other, and it was like it was, I don't know, it was pure chance. And right now it's great because each of one manage and controls the area according to our experience. Like I love operations, I love everything in product, in technology, and he just loves sales. So I believe we are the greatest business partners, and are we are not as different. We have the same energy, and that's it.
So you've been in business now for a few years, and you've been able to grow the business up to 80 employees and 100 companies using it, but it all had to start from somewhere. What was the first steps towards getting that first client and building the content? What did it look like to get the company off the ground?
Okay, so we start working first in making tailor-made solutions. Like we start making tailor-made solutions, so we really understand the HR managers and all of the employees, and that was a huge, like that was the best way to start, because we start knowing our clients. But then we realized we need to scale into the short courses, or the right now short courses we made. So what we start was with Julian was first meeting some companies. We realized we were going to close small companies. So we said, okay, who needs online training inside companies? And we start believing that small companies was the ones. So we start sending some letters to each one of the companies. We didn't receive any answer. But then Julian had one client from the past, which was a bank, and this was our first client. We also have this client right now, and we started working for him for 6 months for free. It was really funny because it was for free, but it was the place in which we had like the most insights, and we started learning from that, from the all of the corporate training. So right now it's great to have that experience, and that's how we start. Then we start like closing more companies. We start making corporate universities for companies. That was a tailor-made solutions and corporate courses, and we had like many clients in that. And one like this year in December last year, we decided to close this area that was like another company, but it was from UBits, and we decided to focus only in our online courses.
And why did you make that decision?
First, because we knew that making tailor-made solutions was not going to be like a really scaling company, and that was not going to give us like the greatest solution for companies. Because if you realize making tailor-made solutions, it's going like just to answer for one solution of the company. For example, if you make the SARO, the risk online course for the company, you're just going to get only the people who need it, and we needed to get each one of the employees inside the company, because there are some people inside companies that haven't had like a top executive learning. If you can see inside companies in Latin America, there are so many insights. Like for example, the 70% of people in the companies approx they don't know English. That's one issue. For example, inside companies, there are many people who doesn't have a degree, a professional degree. So there are not so many people who can access top education. And what we wanted was not making tailor-made solutions, but giving them the top access we had from our universities and from like the managers inside companies. So that's why we start knowing and starting this approach.
Yeah, it's really tough to be able to. I'm sure you were making good revenue from the one-off and custom business to be able to jump into something that was more scalable. And I think a lot of startups aren't able to make that jump. They don't even try, or they do try, but then when it gets hard, they get sucked back into the one-off part. So, what do you think was the reason you were able to successfully make that jump, where a lot of startups aren't able to?
First, we knew a lot our model, the B2B model. And we knew that with this B2B model, we need to have a SaaS, a software as a service. That was going to be like the best step. But the most important thing is that we knew our clients. We had been working with them like 4 years before, so we knew what they wanted. And what they wanted was to have like train employees in a super fast way, have better retention, higher acquiring specific needs at the time, at 24 hours, the time they needed. We also knew that we need to grab like their career goals, the needs inside the company, but first have a competitive cost and make it tailor-made solutions. We were not going to make a competitive cost solution. So it was like making a study inside companies and grabbing like all the information we had and answer with the best solution we can have for companies inside Latin America.
And when did you decide to start raising money for the business?
We decide at Y Combinator. Like
So
before
you had been
that,
fully bootstrapped before then.
yes, we bootstrap until Y Combinator, until YC.
And what was it like bootstrapping in LATAM?
It was really hard. We really bootstrapped because we didn't see a lot of funding and a lot of people interested in our company. They were interested, but we had like in Latin America, it works a lot the trending. So the trends were in the fintechs and not in the edtechs, and also it was really hard to. I believe it was the best decision bootstrapping because it was not as easy as getting money with the model we have of tailor-made solutions. But also Julian and me had like the same we had like the same vision of just first bootstrap the company until we know what we are going to do, and until we knew we were going to do with this online portal. Now we decide to get some money, but we thought we didn't need it. And there was one person who told us like, okay, you want to have a company or you want to have a huge company? And then we say, no, we want to have a huge company. And then he told us, okay, so go and grab some $1 million in the US. So that's when we started like thinking really big on going to the US and got some money from there.
What was the process like deciding to apply to Y Combinator and then the process of actually getting into it?
It was really fast. We like 2 months ago, 2 months before applying to Y Combinator. No, sorry, like 1 month. We were in Silicon Valley because with Julian we decided to travel and met all of the biggest companies of education inside California. We had all of the biggest companies in Mountain View, in San Francisco, like Udemy, Udacity, Coursera, Khan Academy, Duolingo. And we had all of these meetings in which we wanted to meet them and also knew if we were in the correct path. Like we were making like the best solution. We were just going to talk about UBits, but also we got like a lot of questions for them, like what are you doing right now? What's your vision for the company? How do you make content? How do you make this and this and this? And we got like big ideas, a lot of insights from other companies. It was like incredible. And in being in the US and having like more friends inside tech companies make us realize that it was not going to be so hard to get some funding. And in there was a friend who connected us from Colombia. He used to be in YC. He's a YC alumni, but from a US company. And he was the one who told us like you have to apply to YC. And we were like, no, but we are a small company. Maybe we are not going to pass. And he told us like, oh my God, you have more traction than anyone first. Your name is great, and all of what you are doing is great. Let's apply. Why don't you apply to YC? So we were in San Jose with Julian, and we told, okay, let's apply. And we applied to YC. It was great because Julian that day was really sick and he didn't want to make the video. I was like, Julian, we have to make a video. And Julian was, oh my God, I'm so sick. I'm not going to make the video. Please, please. And I was like, you have to make a video. We are like 2 hours from the deadline. So we make the video. It was really fast. It was like in a kitchen. So if you see our video, we are in the front of a kitchen. And we made just a video. We made it like 3 times. At the first time, I hit from the table, so we were laughing. At the second time, we didn't stop laughing. So at the third time, we did it good. But it was really relaxing because what we believe always is that if it is not for us, like this, let's not force it to do it. But then we were really nervous because then we realized a lot what is Y Combinator, and we passed the interview. Some friends like XYZ alumni are told us like, don't be stressed if you don't pass, that like nothing is going to happen. We have applied for 3 4 times, and we really prepare for that interview with Julia. We make all of the questions, we make the mock-up. We were really focused on some hours of the day, like at the end of the day, like for 2 hours, like for 2 weeks, just preparing our interview, our numbers. For us was, I believe it was more relaxing because we knew a lot about our company. So if you have some questions, we were always willing to answer, and we knew a lot about our users, our students. So it was going to be easier than if you have a company like in which you have been in a company like for 1 month. But we prepared the interview a lot. Like then we got into the interview and we passed in the first time we applied.
What were some specific tips you would give to other people who are going to have to go through a Y Combinator interview?
First, you need to prepare like a lot. We prepare a lot. We got like 2 hours from each day, from 2 weeks, answering the questions with Julian, understanding the questions. Second, you have to prepare all of the financial terms in English and all of the startup terms in English. It sounds stupid, but for example, for us, it's not usual to say churn or some terms like ARR, MRR, and these are terms from the US. So you have to be like aware of this. You have to know a lot about your company, your numbers, but you cannot get there afraid because of them. There are some companies that write me to help them to make the mockups, and they are always like, oh my God, we don't have any revenue, we are not going to pass. Like some of my friends from there, they didn't have any revenue. Their company was like 1 month ago based in the US, and they just passed YC because they had a great idea, and that was it. I believe they invest in the people. So you have to work a lot in your English. If you are a Latin American person, you have to work a lot on what's the image you want to reflect on them, and not talk a lot. We are always, and I'm one of them, in which they make you a question and you answer like for 2 minutes. And they told us like you only have to answer for 15 seconds. And for Latins, that's a huge trouble. So you have to concrete all of your answers. And when you concrete all of your answers, if you have them grabbed, you can also like answer two more questions because you only have like 15 minutes. So you have to give them all the information of your company they want, but all of they want is you and all of the metrics.
How did you practice getting everything into 15-second responses? Because you're right, that is one of the biggest things that we have to basically teach our portfolio company entrepreneurs as well, is like, how do you respond to a question really directly? How do you train for that?
We have a Google Drive in which has all of the questions they were going, like the typical Y Combinator interview questions. So, for example, how does your product work in more detail? Why are you, like, the most difficult question is, why are you going to be a 1 billion company? And that's a question that is not in the Paul Graham mockup. But we first answer all of the questions in a Google Drive. Like all of the questions of the interview, we answer it with Julian in the Google Drive. Then we pass all of the questions of the Paul Graham mockup into that Google Drive, and we start like just measuring the time, and then we practice with the mockup of Paul, and then we call all of the XYZ alumni we can to make us a mockup.
One of the things that you've mentioned twice now is one, when you first went to Silicon Valley, you got all these meetings with companies and they took the meeting and you learned a lot. The second was you got all these XYC people to come in and help you. A lot of people, when they go to Silicon Valley the first time, they just sort of go and hope things happen. You went with a plan and then also was able to get in touch with lots of people. What strategies have you used to make that work? And what advice would you give to other people to be able to replicate that?
First, that we as Latins always believe that everything is a chain, right? So if you write to a LinkedIn general manager, you are going to that's that's like a, I don't know if you understand me, a chain, like that's the pena. How do you say it in English? Like,
Yeah, you feel ashamed or you feel weird about doing it, or it's not, you're out of place.
yes, that's awkward, and please don't make that. And since we start the company, we start calling that kind of people, and I believe that's one of the hits we made with him, and it was like, okay, let's contact a lot of people in LinkedIn. And that people, it was really great because you believe that Silicon Valley is a closed place, but when you start calling these people and contacting these people start connecting you with another people, because they say, okay, this is a Latin American company, they are making education, that's great. And there are some people that say, oh, I want to meet them because I want to know what they are doing in Latin America. So it's like for the same places. But the best advice is, don't be ashamed of calling people, of connecting them by LinkedIn, or asking the people for connections, for intros. If they don't want to give you an intro, like they are just not going to make it, but that's like, for you, it's not going to change. Like, you are going to be the same person. Um, and second, plan, like, you don't have to have an exactly plan, but it's better getting there with a plan, mostly for having like 4 meetings, and that meetings are going to connect you for another meetings. That the thing that were incredible for us was, first, all of the energy we got from Silicon Valley, like saying, oh my god, this is huge, we can make it, like, we are big people, we can approach everything we want. Because sometimes you think really small when you are in our companies. It's what I believe, like, that you start thinking like a lot, like really really small, and when you got there, you start like, I don't know, that's a strange energy you have, like from another founders and from people from there, and you realize that you can just be whatever you want, and like that's it.
Yeah, I think going with a plan and not having shame is just the key to it, because we've seen so many Latin American entrepreneurs who they hear the stories of Silicon Valley and they want to go and learn, but they just show up and it doesn't work. They spend a ton of money. They finally get meetings after, week 2 or week 3, but then they have to go back home, and it just didn't get the benefit that they had hoped. So when you were in the program, what advice would you give to somebody to get the best out of Y Combinator once you're already in it?
First, going to all of the meetings. You have to go to all of the meetings. Second, be prepared to have different kind of advices from YC. For example, we are issued to have advisors and that tell you what to do here in Colombia or in another countries. In there, they don't tell you what to do. They help you to answer like your problems, and you have to be like you have to grab all of your problems because they can help you a lot, and grab like all of the sessions you can, because sometimes you don't make it. Second, make all of the friends you can, because that are real friends that can help you, and that are friends that are from all places from around the world that are having the same issues you have. And right now, for example, I have some friends in which I can chat them and ask them for questions. For example, what softwares are you using for these? How are you managing your people? What are you doing? So they are having the same issues and they can help you a lot. It's a great network, so it's really great. And I believe it's just there's another advice. It's better living in Mountain View, for example, not in San Francisco, because in Mountain View you can really focus on what you are doing. We were just with the the doors closed in our home. We were just working. I believe it's a lot of productivity inside there, and you start working and learning about them. So it's great living in Mountain View and just going to all of the meetings, meeting people, talking to people, asking them a lot of things, and going to all of the training sessions you have. And asking is just asking.
So after YC, you decided to raise some money. Can you walk me through that decision to raise the money, and then also how the round went?
It was in YC in which we
During.
raised money. Yes, in the demo day. It was the goal. It was great because at the first 3 hours we just raised 1 million, and we haven't made the pitch. So it was great because we didn't like everyone told us before that, okay, if you don't raise, you are like don't worry that anything is going to happen to you because you bootstrapped it now. And they told us like don't worry if you don't raise, because when you talk about an edtech, it's not as like a big deal as talking as about a fintech. And we are not. I always say like an ugly we are in an ugly area like education and Latin America. But when we got there to the demo day and before demo day, we already had like 1 million from only one VC from San Francisco, and it was great. We just wanted 1 million, but then we realized we had to wait until the investors day. And in the investors day, we talked to Julian and then we told like, okay, right now we are in Silicon Valley. Let's open 1 more million and let's check if we can like get this money, because that's going to help us open Mexico and other countries and just increase our library content like a lot. And we got out the 2 millions we needed. So it was great. We grabbed them from LinkedIn Learning, from LinkedIn executives, from Google, and from another like just VCs from there. But it was really really great for us, like having the access to these people.
So beyond just the access to the people, what do you think made it possible to actually raise the money? Because lots of people can get the meeting, but a lot of people don't close, especially that fast. So what did you do to make that work, and what advice would you give to other Latin American founders who are looking to raise in the US?
First, we have like good metrics, but I believe that was not the point of decision. The point of decision was that for that there are a lot of online courses in the US, but no one is focused on Spanish courses for corporate training. So it was great for us seeing that everyone start calling us the Linda for Latam. So it was great. Second, there are some online portals in Spanish who are competence from us in B2C, but there was not a big player in B2B. So when they start talking to us, they realized that there was not that we had like not a lot of competitors, and that if any other competitor, big competitor, wanted to come, we already had like a lot of content and a lot of solutions for having this. So that was great for us, like in all of the. And also, for example, we have competitors like universities, as you can say like, okay, you can go and get from universities, but their content is created our content that is not created for employees doesn't have time. They cannot make a course in 4 months. So what I believe is that they are very good in what they do, but so most of them are focused in B2C. If they enter to B2B, their market is so big, but and so we can have big players in there. But I believe that was the thing they say, like they really like these guys are going to make it because there are not enough training content in Spanish, and our concept was really good. The University of Bits, they like it a lot. They like our energy, and they also like all the metrics we have, and also because we already have like some clients, so that was great. Our expertise in that.
One of the stories you talked about way back in when you were talking about the first university you tried to start was as a 24-year-old going to negotiate with a 50-year-old in Mexico. And you're a female founder in Latin America and going to the US. How is that experience, and what's it like being a female founder in Latam?
Okay, so first, I was really afraid on going to YC because I was the only Latin American girl in the batch. And I was so afraid because sometimes you believe that being a female founder, it's going to like stop the VCs from investing in your company. So at first I was talking to Julian and saying him like, I'm so sorry if they don't invest in you because I'm a female founder. So because if you see all of the charts and all of the things, you can see that the charts are really negative for women. So that's changing, but that's not changing in a really fast way. So for me, I was afraid of that. That was the only point. But being with another girls and being also with the boys made me realize that there's no any issue on being on tech and being a woman and being a Latin woman. So that was great for me. Like I haven't had like any bad experience from that. I believe that we need more tech girls because there are not a lot of tech girls and Latin girls from making these kind of solutions. So I believe there's a lot of opportunities to make it, and we need to work on that.
What are some of the ways that you think that the ecosystem could do a better job of working on it?
I believe that first working on the little girls. For example, there is a program, and I was that day on EA Sports, in which they grab some girls from schools and they teach them to program, and they teach them things in business schools and things like that. And I believe we need more conferences and more empowering conferences of girls who can make it, because our culture is always saying that you have to have kids and you have to have a husband and you have to be in your home. And this is happening right now. There are some people who ask me, "Oh my God, but you are making this, you are making your company right now is big. You have to travel. But when you are going to make like a big company, sorry, when you are going to make like your family, you are not thinking in your family." And that's like things in which they make you get into that paradigms, and that's not it. Like you have to work on you. You have to like know another woman who right now are making it, and I believe we as a woman need to work more on that, on realizing and empowering the girls that they can work, they can, and there's a lot for us, and that you don't have to be afraid, because sometimes you are afraid of being a woman in tech and talking in tech and being in a. I had been in, for example, some meetings with like 10 men from a big company and tech men, and I'm the one leading the meeting. So it's like having the risk and having all the support.
And what advice, besides for don't be afraid, would you give to women who are either thinking about starting a company or have started a company but haven't gotten to the raising money and going to the US and having a big team yet?
So I don't know. I will tell them that we need to study a lot. Like sometimes, and this is for women and men, but you need to learn about your company a lot, and you need to be prepared, because sometimes questions for us are tougher than for men. But we have to remember that being in a small business involves patience and times, and requires you to like to being in a goal each one of the days. Second, be patient. Sometimes we are always running and we want everything right now, and you have to be just like patient and know. Sometimes I know that's a bad advice, but you cannot hear everyone, because at first they start telling you like you have to do this as a woman, you have to do that. If you travel, they are going to like your husband or your boyfriend. It's going to be with another girl, and this and this and this, and there are a lot of things. For example, when I went to Silicon Valley, someone told me, "Oh, Marta, if you went there, they are going to like grab your man, and you are going to be alone." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is like so from another era." But sometimes, and don't be afraid, because when you start working, people can make you feel very small, especially when you're in a male dominated business environment. So what you need to do is like be very confident, and don't let people make you doubt yourself in what you are making. I believe at first, because of you are not as confident, you believe you are going to be rejected, but it's always like don't take it personally, and just get your plan, like just work a lot in your plan, and help another woman, like start empowering them really. And also, I don't know, keep focus on what you are doing. Like don't let you can be a mom, and you can be, I'm not a mom, but you can be a mom, and you can have your family, and you can be a lot, and you cannot feel intimidated, especially in front of investors, because sometimes you get intimidated by the VCs, but you are much better than them. Like you have a great idea, you are gaining money, you are in this business, you know more than them of your ecosystem, so don't be afraid.
That's amazing advice. Thanks for sharing. Do you have any books, blogs, podcasts, documentaries that you really like or that you recommend to other people, whether it's about tech or just life in general?
Right now I'm reading a book named Titanes. I don't know the book in English, but right now I'm reading it in Spanish, and it's from Tim Ferriss. I believe it's a great book because it's based on what I do in Bits, and it's like 3 pages. Each entrepreneur talk like the best tactics, the best advices in 3 pages from all of the book, and it has been great because then you realize that there are some things they made that you made, in terms of health, in terms of business, in terms of, I don't know, in many terms. So it's a great advice reading that. I really like that book, and that's what I always read, and that's it. I'm always reading, so I have like many blogs from, for example, Entrepreneur, and I'm always reading Forbes and things like that. But the other things are most this book.
So what's next for you and for UBits?
For me, I just want to be an endeavor girl. I'm just seeking to that, and I would like to study more, like be having another program in innovation and in another things I want. And for you, we are just running Mexico and Peru, and we need to open more these countries and be and have like more traction in these companies. We believe we are going to hit our goal from being the biggest library in Latin America in June. We thought it was going to be in December, but we are running to be the best and the biggest company in B2B by June. So that's a big goal we are making and we are working on. So that's what we are making. And in tech, we have like a lot of goals. We want to make some machine learning approach. So we are working in big data and in advanced analytics. And I believe like maybe for June also, we are going to have this pattern recognition applying in one of the tools we have. And we are just working on that, on tech a lot and on content a lot, and opening more countries. Like that's the goal we need, and we are going to have this year. We have to work a lot, and then we are going for our Series A. So we are working on our metrics.
Awesome. Well, it's going to be fun to watch you and your team execute over the next year, and we'll definitely have to do a follow-up,
Yeah.
say in 9 months or so, to go into the progress and how you've been going. And thank you very much for sharing your story. It's been really, really good. So thanks again for doing it.
No, Nathan, thanks you, and let's like meet later to know all of the UBits updates.
Sounds great. Thanks for listening to this episode of Crossing Borders. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you like it, please share it with a friend, as it's the best way for more people to learn about Latin American entrepreneur stories. If you're interested in learning more about why Combinator and Latin American entrepreneurs experience with it, check out episodes with Christian Vanderhens from Platzi and Emmanuel Okendo from Brain High. If you like the podcast, please check out latinlist.com, which has short, bite-sized daily news updates on Latin America. Thanks to Anka and Sophia for helping produce this podcast, and thanks to you for listening. Have a great rest of your day.